How's it going, guys? Coach Dan here at Black Diamond Mixed Martial Arts, and today I'm going to talk about how to beat a larger opponent, specifically when you're on bottom and he's on top aiming to pass your guard. How do you kind of deal with that situation, and how do you deal with it when you're already kind of getting squished? So we're going to talk about some concepts, some specific techniques tied all together very quickly here. So we'll say Tim is here, and Tim's goal obviously from this position is going to be to pass me. Now, as the smaller guy, the first thing I want to make note on and avoid is any position where my mobility becomes limited. So I don't want to allow, Tim's here, for him to close this distance, kind of constrict me, and then us go, okay, 1, 2, 3, fight from here. I'd rather not end up here in the first place where now my mobility is hindered. So, or even if he stuffs both my butterfly hooks and brings his head down, but this is not the time to start sweeping. And it's 1,000 times not the time to start sweeping or thinking about sweeping against a bigger guy. I want to avoid these positions like the plague. So if Tim is back up, and I notice him starting to tip me back, look, my head is starting to go behind my hips. I'm starting to look like a turtle on his back, and I'm not really necessarily a mobile guy anymore. When I get to positions like this, instead of letting him crowd and then going, okay, how do I work from here? Instead of allowing that to happen, as he's here and I notice this happening to me, I'm going to make sure that I can keep space. Or if I notice him maybe knee cutting, right? Knee cutting across, and I don't feel comfortable in this position, I don't have to resignate myself to, okay, I'm fighting from here now. I can, especially if it's no-gi, post off of him, kick off, and do everything I need to do to maintain this distance. So now I can use my varieties of technique. I can use my speed to beat him. Now, it's not like as much of an arm wrestling match where, okay, I need to push him, he needs to push me. It doesn't become that. Now he doesn't know if I'm going to go with Purdy. Now he doesn't know if I'm going to go for a leg lock. He doesn't know if I'm going to go dilly heave on this side. If I'm going to go for an arm drag. I'm trying to pull close guard. I have all my options and I can work them. As opposed to when we're cramped down in little positions like this where now it's a little bit more of kind of a muscle-on-muscle bout. So let's say, by some series of circumstances, Tim ends up on top of me in a half guard, and he's flattening me out. So here we're in kind of a more traditional half guard. He's got his underhook on the far side. I'm going to deal with this position, especially as the smaller guy against the bigger guy. I'm going to use my right arm underneath Tim's neck, left arm braces at his hip. Again, here, thinking about using more like physics and leverage to my advantage rather than muscle. What I'm going to do with my left hand, if I can help it, especially if he's sprawled here, is I'm going to take my left hand, put it on his hip, and I'm going to let my elbow act like a stilt. So he puts his hip back down. Sprawl your hip again, Tim. Yeah, he's here on my hand. So now he has to go through my arm. And unless I have the bone density of a sparrow, I'm going to be able to maintain this, and I'm going to be able to keep him here without really using any muscle at all. Now, how do I get out of this position? So what I could do is I could fight to turn to my side, fight to turn to my side. I can start running this underhook through and then trying to fight up to my knees, which is probably going to be a pretty tough battle. And when I'm here, now he's got his bravos and other stuff. Not that it's a bad option, but especially against a bigger guy, I'd rather do the following. So let's spin around some. So I got my stilt on the other side. Now I'm going to create a stilt on his other hip, so he can't use his weight against me. I'm here. I move my hips out, so go ahead and get nice and low. I'm going to bump my hips out to make some space, and I'm going to take my right knee and stick it right in his hip here. Now, once I have my right knee in his hip, now I'm bracing away on his opposite hip, bracing away on his same side hip, and even if he's 200 pounds, he's not going to be able to get it all into me because he's dealing with the frame and the structure of my bones, my femur here, as well as my arms, stiff arming him right in the hip or bracing off him like this stilt. So this gives him a lot of trouble. And now from positions like this, what I like to do, especially if he's fighting really, really hard to keep his weight into me, he's like a bigger guy, he's getting frustrated, like, oh, I can't put my weight into this guy. I'm going to bring my right knee across his stomach, I'm going to reach underneath his far leg, and I'm going to tip him over me like this. And now I end up on a leg. And now as we're here, as we rotate a little bit, if I end up in a position like this, I particularly like positions like this against bigger guys. Because number one, if I have the end of this lever here, if I have the end of his leg, I don't care if Tim's 300 pounds now, there's no way he can put all this weight back into me. I'm kicking off his hip, my knee and my heel are forming this nice little frame here. This is perfectly legal in IBJJF. And now, if it's not IBJJF, I can start to threaten techniques like heel hooks, or even if it was, I could go after toe holds and different things like that. And now, when we're in a spot like this, Tim is no longer thinking, okay, he's trying to escape, I need to crush back into him. He's thinking, all right, do I want to walk and make toast tomorrow, or do I want to wheel myself over to my toaster and make, He doesn't like those thoughts, so he's probably going to bail because this is ugly for him. Maybe he'll scramble up. If I play my cards right, I tap him out or I end up on top. I threaten leg locks a lot to get on top because guys want to avoid it, and they can't bring their weight back into him if you have that whole leg controlled. So we'll talk about another quick situation. Say I'm here with Tim.
He's working another half guard pass where he brings his arm over. Yes, so this is very common too. All right, he's bigger than me. He's got all his weight right on my chest. He's cut my upper body out of the equation. Now he's going to focus on just pounding my legs, freeing his middle leg, right? If I let him do what he wants, he's going to be here, boom. Yeah, I'm going to get mounted, I'm going to get side control. It's going to be bad times. So what am I going to do? I'm going to keep my arms underneath his body. And again, this isn't me focusing on like, yeah, I'm going to lift you with my pure tricep power, because that's clearly not going to work. But I'm going to use this like a frame. I can hold a lot of weight on this shelf right here because I'm not really using muscle. I'm just kind of holding my shoulders in place and making a frame. So I'm kind of hovering him a little bit over my chest with these arms. Now what I'll do is, I'll really fight against this. So I'm pushing down on his leg, right, letting him resist it. And what I'm going to do now is, as I'm pushing down, so I'm pushing down with my hands, I'm pushing down with my feet, I'm going to reverse this. He's sinking all his weight down that way. I'm going to reverse this. I'm going to send my hips up high, and I'm going to tip my elbows this way. Like so. So my hips up high, and tip my elbows up. I get his weight off of me enough to rotate through and come through for the leg again. Now I'm in a similar position. I have used kind of my own momentum and kind of undulating below Tim to get myself to a position like this, where now, again, 300 pounds, he can't get all his weight back into me. And if I play my cards correctly and I make some good threats here, he's going to be thinking more about liking the experience of walking than he is about stacking. And I come up top, I get my points. All right, so hopefully those concepts kind of stick, mainly being don't allow that motion to get limited in the first place. And if it does, try to use as much as possible the frame of the body to get yourself away from him, rather than just kind of like that muscle-on-muscle bout. And at the same time, just in preference as a smaller fella, I prefer to get a hold of one of those legs so it's impossible for him to get his weight back up. It's not like a half-guard scramble like this where I've got the underhook, he's got the overhook. Yeah, this becomes like a dog fight. And generally speaking, a dog fight for a little guy against a big guy, I don't like the odds. But like, I'm not going to be able to walk, or, if I try to put my weight into you, or I can just let you sweep me, I prefer those odds a little bit more. So I like to get my hands on positions like that. So hopefully those concepts and techniques sink in. You guys find that stuff useful. Certainly more coming up soon, so hope to see you guys soon.